Welcome to the channel. In today's video, we will explore how loan processing works in software systems and how we can simulate real-world loan approval engine using Spring Boot and rules. So first of all, what is loan processing in software? Loan processing in software refers to automated handling of loan applications from collecting customers' data, applying business rules, verifying some eligibility, and finally approving or rejecting loans. Instead of manual checks, banks and financial institutions use software logic to make sure that the processes are done with accuracy and compliance. So in this example, we are going to consider how bank use business rules to approve or reject loan applications. So in the diagram, as you can see, that in a typical or a simplest setup, we can have a task which initiates a service task, which can be our Java side changes. And nextly, we'll be having rule changes, which will be handled in a .dll file, which will approve or reject loan. And finally, this process will end. So an example would be for if income is below a certain threshold, reject the loan, or if a credit score is above 750 and income is sufficient, approve the loan. So the main objective of this video will be to take the loan input, apply rules on them, and return approved or rejected state. The components that we'll be using in this example is a Spring Boot REST API to accept loan request. We'll be using a post request for that. A loan object containing income, credit score, loan amount, etc. And then we'll be having this business rules written in rules. And finally, we'll be having logic to apply rules and return a response approved or rejected. So let's start. So this will be our simple rule file, which will be containing data like this, where we'll be having a rule which approves loan or rejects loan based on criteria like low credit score or high debt. In this, for example, we have considered credit score 700, salary is greater than 50,000, and various other conditions also we can add. And this will help us to check whether a loan finally will be approved or rejected. Now, the first thing we need to see this is the specific code for rules. This is a .dll file, and which will decide what will happen with the loan amount. Next, let's see how we are going to integrate this with Spring Boot. So this is nothing but a simple Spring Boot project where we are having various uh, components of a normal Spring Boot project. That is the controller. Here is our controller. This controller is nothing but a simple endpoint which accepts a post request, which evaluates the loan, and uh, return and response entity with HTTP status OK. And then we are having this service code, which checks whether in our Kai session we are putting the proper request or not. We are filing the rules and then we are returning the request. Next, to integrate the actual DRL, which is loans DRL, with the Spring Boot, we are having this rules config. So the main aim of this is to create a Kai session and provide this Kai session when we want to execute the rules through a Spring Boot project. Another important thing that we need to make sure that we need to have this kind of these many dependencies. So these are the necessary dependencies which we need to have to integrate Spring Boot with our rules setup. Uh, Apart from this, this is a normal Spring Boot project with version 2.6.9, and we are just using a Spring Boot starter web. Then that's most of it, and this is the simplest or minimalist configuration that we will need here. One more thing important is we need to have this kmodule.xml. So basically, the role of this file is to make sure that the place where our rules are kept is being recognized by the rules config. Here we are mentioning the Kai session which will be created based on this config file. In application.properties, we just have a name of the application, port, and we have kept debug level. So if we want to get more understanding of how what is happening behind the scenes, we'll be able to understand that. Now let's see what happens when we load and run this project. So uh, this is our main class of Spring Boot application, which will help us to do that. Uh, Before that, we need to make sure that our project starts properly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a min clean so that any stale data or any previous data is deleted from here. You can see the build is success. Now I'm going to do an install as well. So this makes sure that our application is up and running and it is not having any problem. There can be some problems with dependencies, but make sure that uh, the versions that we are using here are compatible. I've used 9.44.0 version for almost all the Drool related dependencies like Drool compiler, Drool code, KaiCI, etc. And if you need to have Maven latest version, then it's fine. Otherwise, the default version, if you want to have, is I think 3.1.0. That will suffice for this demonstration. Now we can see the Spring Boot server is getting started. We can see the version here as well, 2.6.9. And as we have used the debug mode, so we are getting these kind of detailed description. So we can see here our build is success now. So it is installation is complete. Mbin install is complete. Now let me start the project from here. So once this is done, the Spring Boot will start the application, and we have mentioned port 8085. So it's starting here. We're getting various details like Kai module is being picked up from here, and it's creating Kai session, and creation of Kai base is happening, and the Kai base is created at this point, and our application is also up in 21 seconds. So now let's see how we can use this application together with the rules which we have created for various conditions for credit score, salary, debt, etc. With this, we have to make sure that uh, this file is located at in resources in rules package, and this package should be known to the module kmodule.xml. So now when we want to run this will be our controller, and we'll have to use the endpoint loan and apply. So to do the same, we can go here and we can see that the name of the applicant is John with this credit score, salary, and existing debt. And we can see that when we do a post request, we can see that loan is approved for John because the rule conditions that we have provided are getting satisfied, and therefore we are getting this kind of message: loan is approved for John. Next we need to find if what happens when the credit score is low. So here we'll be able to see this is another example. So with this we'll be able to find that loan is rejected for Bob, and the reason is here we can see message high existing debt. This is the existing debt which we can see. And let me execute it one more time. So for Alice, what will happen? It will loan is rejected for Alice, and the reason is that uh, the existing debt for the the person named Alice is also high. So this was kind of quick demonstration of how we can integrate the rules with Spring Boot project and how we can use that in any application. To make sure that all the application and all the systems, we are having two systems here. Number one is service side changes, which is in Java, and the rule side changes. To make them work, we need to make sure that these setup is correct. Like K module should be correct. It should contain the Kai session name, which we'll be using in our rules config. And then we should have DRL file located like this in place. In the Pom.xml also, we need to make sure that all the dependencies are of correct version and all the dependencies are present. So we'll need 4 dependencies here. And we also need to make sure that we clean the project and recompile it and install it. Then we'll be able to see this kind of result for our request. So these are 3 requests for John where our result was successful, and for the 2 cases where our result was not okay. So this is mostly about how we can use Spring Boot with rules. So that's all in this video. Thanks for watching.